This February, while I was scrolling through different movie trailers on YouTube, I came across a recent trailer for The Revenant, and I thought, why are they showing it again? Turns out it's being re-released for its 10th anniversary, and I thought, oh, I have actually wanted to watch The Revenant for a long time, but I never really found the right moment, and now it seemed like a perfect opportunity to actually watch it in IMAX. So I spent the whole week waiting for the weekend. Then Friday finally came, and I went to the IMAX website only to find out that the movie is only playing in theaters in the US. Of course, I was a little upset, got a little mad, but that same Friday, I downloaded The Revenant and watched it, and I was really impressed. The Revenant was directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu in 2015. He's the guy who's supposed to release the movie Digger this year with Tom Cruise, which I'm really looking forward to. It promises to be something cool. With a budget of $135 million, it grossed $530 million at the box office, which is absolutely phenomenal success for an auteur film, and won 3 Oscars including Best Director and Best Cinematography, and I completely agree with that. The story follows hunter Hugh Glass, who after a Native American attack on a fur traders camp, has to guide the survivors back to the fort. During a hunt, Glass is attacked by a grizzly bear and left on the verge of death. The group tries to carry him with them, but realizes it's too difficult and will slow them down too much. In the end, only his son Hoke, Jim Bridger, and John Fitzgerald stay with him, the latter only for the money. Fitzgerald tries to suffocate Glass to leave sooner, but Hoke stops him, and Fitzgerald kills the boy right in front of his helpless father, then leaves Glass to die in a pit. But Glass barely managed to survive, driven by a single goal of revenge. The cinematography here is just beautiful. The film has many long, beautiful takes and tracking shots with minimal cuts, where the camera smoothly moves around the characters while showing the beauty of nature. But when it comes to tense moments, the camera becomes handheld, focusing more on the characters and taking on a more subjective perspective. And when flashbacks are shown, the camera uses slow zooms, pullbacks, abstract imagery, and a blur, just like in Hazy Memories. All of this really helps you draw into the film. Plus, the film transitions masterfully from wide shots to close-ups without any visible cuts, and watching it is a pure pleasure. There are moments in the film where the camera fogs up from the character's breath, bloodstains and drops that fall into the lens. It kind of breaks the fourth wall, but I actually like it, because it makes you feel like you're the part of the events. Of course, the most memorable scene are the grizzly bear attack at the beginning. It looks incredibly realistic. When the bear clawed Glass' throat and he started whizzing, I was like, holy shit, how is he even supposed to survive after that? The scene where Fitzgerald kills Glass' son while he can do nothing but watch, DiCaprio portrays that perfectly. And the final chase and battle between Glass and Fitzgerald are just beautifully staged and shot. The final scene in the Grove, where DiCaprio portrays a completely exhausted, broken man on the verge of tears who lost all sense of purpose. It's just a wonderful ending in my opinion. The film itself is very quiet. There's no traditional music. All you hear are nature sounds or noises made by the characters. But when music does appear, it's either deep ambient sounds reflecting Glass' emotions, or, what really stood out to me, a tense violin strings that creates a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. Combined with the visuals of powerful nature, it enhances the effect even more. I also wanted to praise the costume designers. The characters' clothing looks very authentic. Honestly, it seems to me like they were taken straight from that era. And of course, the best thing about the film is Leonardo DiCaprio's performance. He played his role so powerfully that he just had to win an Oscar for this film. This might be one of the best acting performances I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how he managed to portray pain, suffering, and anger so naturally. What I especially liked was how he portrayed Glass' pain. When you look at the screen, you see that the character is suffering, not because of fake blood or over makeup, even though the makeup artist did a fantastic job, but because of how DiCaprio acts, his facial expressions, movements, and the sounds he makes, and that made me emphasize with the character, even though I rarely do. For me to care about the character, they either need to be very well written or the actor has to give a brilliant performance. And here, I really felt bad watching Glass struggle to survive, watching him grieve when his son was killed, and in the final battle, even knowing that the Glass will most likely win, I was still nervous. I remember leaning close to the screen and sitting there as if I was under a spell, and reacting to every protagonist's injury like,
on, come, yes, 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 okay, come on. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
I honestly can't remember the last time a movie made me feel such strong emotions, which is actually rare for me, since I wouldn't call myself an emotional person, so I was really impressed. Another actor who stood out to me is Tom Hardy, who played John Fitzgerald, a man ready to betray or kill anyone for his own benefit. It takes a real skill to portray such a compelling character. I especially remember the scene with him early on, when he makes a deal with Glass, telling him to just blink and he will kill him, or the moment when he actually pulls the trigger in the argument with the Jim, and Jim was just lucky that the gun wasn't loaded. Overall, I really like the nature shots in the film. They give me a kind of dual feeling. On one hand, they're beautiful and calming, but on the other hand, they create a sense of anxiety from the sheer power of nature. How it stretches for miles, making human look so small and helpless. These massive shots convey both peace and fear of a force that spares no one. And this feeling is reinforced by the sound setup that I mentioned earlier. The message of the film may not be very unique, but combined with the story, it creates a very powerful effect in the end. The film shows that Glass' only motivation to keep going is revenge, and this shows just how strong a person can be when they have a goal for which they are willing to suffer in unhuman abysmal conditions. During his journey, he meets a Native American man who has also lost his family, but the man says revenge is in the creator's hands, so instead of seeking revenge, he goes to find the remaining members of his tribe. In the final, when Glass is about to kill Fitzgerald, he sees a group of Native Americans led by Chief whose daughter he had saved earlier on his journey, and remembers those words. Instead of killing him, he sends Fitzgerald down the river toward them to face the judgment. In my understanding, this means that it's not for us to pass judgment. If God or nature, it doesn't matter what, just some higher force beyond our understanding decides what must be done, then it will determine a person's fate on its own. Revenge won't bring back what was lost and will only cause more pain. And I think that is precisely why Glass didn't kill Fitzgerald himself, because he realized that if he did, he would become just as much of a monster as Fitzgerald. At the very end in the grove, Glass sees the spirit of his dead wife, who looks at him approvingly and leaves. Personally, I think this means that Glass has lost any meaning in life. She tells him he did the right thing, revenge happened, but with that, his purpose is gone. I can clearly see what now in his eyes. And at first, when I saw the final shot where Leo looks straight into the camera, I thought, well, yeah, that's a bit of a breach of the fourth wall. But then on my second viewing, I realized that such a moment would have been out of place in the film, and most likely they're just showing us how broken he is. But I'll say it again, none of this would have worked without DiCaprio. He's just incredible. And a few words about the criticism, which I honestly don't understand. When I was looking for information about the film, I read that some critics walked out of the premiere because of the film is too violent. Honestly, I don't get that complaint. The film recreates the harsh era of early 19th century America. It was a time of brutal colonization and Native Americans fighting for their land. The director simply shows that reality without sugarcoating it. Criticizing this film for violence is like criticizing a war movie for having combat. It makes absolutely no sense. The violence here is justified by context and story, not just violence for violence's sake. The film shows an era in which it was simply impossible to survive without violence. Take for example the scene where Glass guts a horse to keep warm in a blizzard, and other shocking scenes. Well, yes, I'll agree that they're partially done for the wow factor, but I think they mainly show the extremes a person is willing to go to in order to survive. So yeah, I really don't understand that criticism. I mean, what exactly did they expect to happen? Was a Native American supposed to calmly walk up and say, "White sir, would you kindly allow me to kill you?" and then do it in the most painless and polite way possible? Is that what they wanted? I mean, come on. It's kind of crazy that I, 15-year-old kid, seems to understand this film better than professional critics who watch movies every day. Who are they even hiring? In the end, I give this film a like. It was an amazing experience watching it. It will definitely make it into my long list of favorite movies, at least because of the incredible acting, and I highly recommend watching it. And that's all. If you really enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and of course, love movies and watch movies. Bye!